PDP victory. The road now run, the journey rough. We foot strong and our skin tough. So many dots have been shown at us. Real Spartans never give up. Yeah. The winds of change blowing your way. Bust off those chains. It's a brand new day. It's not a dream. It is for real. You have to believe. PDP victory. Yeah. PDP victory. Tobagonians are born fighters. Carry the genes of our ancestors. You change hands so many times, mama. To get your freedom, you have to fight back. I see the many scars upon your back.
I have found that Tobago gets more done when Tobago goes for a Tobago-centric party that does not have a base in Trinidad. Because Tobago has to mind Tobago's business now. We have not mind our business for the last 21 years. We're minding the business now.
PDP victory, yeah. PDP victory. Your enemies you shall see no more. Tobagonians will live better off. Better opportunities for the poor. Victimization it will be no more. The winds of change blowing your way. Bust off those chains. It's a brand new day. It's not a dream.
Good morning, Tobago. Good morning, listeners. Good morning, listeners in the diaspora, Trinidad and Tobago, all our social media and all our social media platforms. Good morning to all of you, and welcome to the PDP Mornings. I am Dwayne Nurse, and unfortunately this morning our dear sister Jamie could not make it. She's facing a bit of an ailment. Hope she gets over it soon. I hope you guys keep her in your prayers. But however, we have this morning, as per usual, a very promising and fun and educational program for you this morning with our PDP candidate. This morning we have with us the faithful, the vibrant, the pastoral, the man of the cloth, Pastor Terence Baines. Good morning to you, Pastor Baines.
Good morning to you, Mr. Nurse.
And as per usual, you always look fly. I just love how you just bring in the vibes, you know.
You have to stay with it, you know. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, life is short.
Yes, it is.
So you have to.
And of course, you would definitely know the meaning behind life is short.
Indeed.
As a pastor.
Indeed,
you know.
Indeed.
Just by a bit of a way, viewers, I just want to remind you that our program begins every day, 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. This segment we are entertaining questions. Please coming on to the end of the interview this morning, we're going to entertain questions for Pastor Terence Baines. So just listen out and just be a part of the discussion. I know he's excited to answer your questions. So Pastor Baines, you're a man of the cloth. How did you end up in politics? Because as I would have gotten to know, this is not your first run at politics. So tell us about that.
Yes, well, of course, politics and church have never really been good bedfellows. In our forming and so on, in our theology, as a matter of fact, our church messaging and so on, there was always, the term was always treated negatively. Nobody really took the time to do a definition of what the word means. I guess because it was just associated with a particular political culture in our region and our area. It was always looked upon, and still in some quarters looked upon, as a very negative thing. It is always looked upon as something that is corrupting, something that is devilish, something that is unchristian, and all the other negative terms that you could find. I think my interest started when I was involved when I was in media. I used to do radio I was afforded the privilege by Mr. George Leacock to do the Wake Up Tobago program for a couple of years. And of course, that type of program, kind of pushes you to get into the community and to find out what's happening, have a kind of face-to-face. And I began to see some of the needs and some of the things that and as a churchman, you go to people's homes at times as people invite you. You understand what I'm saying? But in this case, I am going in general to look at it's a different perspective.
Right.
So I started to see things a little differently and so on. And of course, people engage you on that social level and that kind of thing. And I became a little more sensitive to that matter. Of course, there was a major war in my mind because it is diametrically opposed to what I was being taught. As a churchman and as a pastor, even worse. But I felt deep down that I had a commitment to my community. I think what we have not explored extensively is the role the church is supposed to play in the community, and I revisited the scriptures because everything that I do has to be driven by a scriptural place. And in Matthew chapter 5, Jesus taught that we are the light of the world. The word world is translated from the Greek is the word cosmos. Cosmos really means arrangement, organization, and application as the constellation. It also, and you can get a Strong's Concordance if you want, any concordance, look it up. You will see it also says government or management.
Interesting.
You understand what I'm saying?
Interesting.
So what Jesus was actually saying is this, that I am bestowing or instilling these kingdom principles in you. But the principles are not necessarily for heaven, they are for the earth. You understand? So you have to engage your community. So whether you are involved, apart from the church, because the church life is supposed to impact the environment. So whether it's your village council, your football club, your PTA, your governmental setup, whatever, you're supposed to bring the kingdom principles to bear on those environments. And so that is what, that cleared that up in my mind. There are other scriptural things that you can find, but that was the main one for me. Of course, I'm swimming against the tide because not everybody, the larger percentage of the church do not subscribe to that. Okay. And so on. So you have a fight. On the other hand, though, I think added to this that I did not only venture into politics, but I venture into politics with organizations that were not, not non-PNM, for instance. Okay. And I could explore that because Christian people don't really like politics, but they say if you do, they prefer you be in the PNM party.
Really?
Yes, and there's no question about that. There's no question about it. And I will tell you the reason for that. Part of it is religious and so on. And the next part, you remember, I don't know if you remember some years ago, former Prime Minister, Mr. Manning, made a public statement that he was a born-again Christian. I don't know if you remember that.
No, I don't.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. So that was a kind of real, kind of triumph for the church, as it were. There are Christian people that believe that the PNM is a Christian party and so on. And if you're going to be involved in politics, that is the place that you're supposed to be, right? The other parties, like for instance, the UNC people say they're pagan, they worship idols and all them kind of, and that is really incorrect, because those of us African descent who subscribe in large part to the PNM, you will find that we have other religions, other like for instance Orisha and these religions also that are pantheistic as well, and people get upset with the Hindus, for instance, and say that they worship these idols, and then you have Emancipation Day, When all of us of African descent put on our dashiki and thing, and we walk through Port of Spain and we stop at different points and do these libations. Libations actually is ancestral worship. You understand? Where they call on the spirit of the ancestors and all those kinds of things. Those things, if we're going down that road, you understand,
Right.
it is pretty much the same. But the point being, and I'm not saying that in a derogatory manner, you know, I'm just saying that for the sake of information. So I think that those two things on. So most people who are Christians and are engaged in any politics, you will find that they will prefer that you be in the PNM party, right? They will prefer that. But so those of us who are non-PNM, you will find that it is a little bit difficult. People are a little more critical of us and so on and that kind of thing. But we know that you have a constitutional right. We know that God is not a PNM, nor UNC, nor PDP. He's just God. We know that. Although people try to make us feel that God is a PNM.
God.
Yeah, but he's not. He's not.
But Pastor Beans, how do you reckon the scripture that says, "Be in the world, but not of the world"? You know, where people are associating politics with being of the world. And more than that, one might argue that, oh, all right, it's just a different side of the vineyard to which God might send me, right? But others might disagree. How do you strike the balance between you know, the notion that be of the world and not in the world?
Well, that scripture doesn't really people misinterpret scripture a whole lot for their own benefit and for their own biases and so on.
But are you sure you're not doing the same or not?
No, but I'm telling you, it can be that, because working in a secular place is in the world. You understand? In other words, there are a lot of other activities that we Christians engage in that you can consider if that is your reasoning.
Right.
You understand? So if you're saying politics is worldly, you'll have to say where your work is worldly too. You understand? Just going down to the grocery and so that will also be worldly. So what it is talking about, it is a state of mind. It is talking about not operating like people that have as their agenda the vanities of this world, and that is what it is talking about. It speaks about a mindset.
Right.
You understand, for the most part. So and it cannot contradict what Jesus already said, because Jesus was always teaching that what I'm teaching you is to benefit your community. And you can't, the only way you could be when he says that you are the salt have no value except it is in the mix. You understand? So the salt has to be in the pot, as it were. Which means you have to be in the environment, but you don't have to let the environment contaminate you. That is the challenge.
Right.
You understand? So, and there is credence in that too, because an environment, depending on who you are, an environment can affect you negatively.
Right.
And so, Christian people, I do not believe that every fear that the Christian community has is unfounded. In other words, the people that are fearful for me think that I am now, some people think I am of the devil now.
Really?
Yes, there are some people think that, and I've said it many times, there are some people was sending around a prayer request in a particular church here in Tobago, because they said, and the note said, they sent it to me, that Terry Baines has been used by the devil and we have to pray that God will reverse that.
Whoa.
Yeah. So and primarily because I do not subscribe to the political philosophy that they have. You understand? So you have that. But I was making the point that there are people that are really concerned for us, people like myself, that we do not become subsumed by this environment, that we lose our Christian testimony and so on. You know, and that is a legitimate concern, and there's nothing wrong with that. You understand? And just as you can be consumed in the politics, you can be consumed in any other jurisdiction and vocation rather.
I too share your perspective, because I'm a Christian as well. Right? I am very much active in my church. I'm a youth leader in my church, and I too subscribe to the fact that, and I always use the example of Daniel, right? Politics is nothing new. God created politics. Sure. You understand? It's just that he allowed man to govern themselves. The intention was God would have been their prime minister and president. But God would have allowed the children of Israel to govern themselves per their request. And Daniel was captured in Babylon by design. From my perspective, and based on what I studied, for two reasons. One, because God wanted to teach Israel a lesson. And secondly, God wanted to ensure that Babylon get a taste of who God is.
Yes.
Because he would have done so through Nebuchadnezzar.
Indeed, and you are correct.
And I want to agree with you on the premise that, you know, wherever, it doesn't matter if you're a man of the cloth or you're a Christian or whatever. Wherever God sends you, wherever you are placed, you have to be the light.
Sure.
And the whole notion that you must only be a light in church on a Saturday, on a Sunday, is a fallacy. Because it's like you're preaching to the converted.
Yeah, but that's not what it was supposed to be for neither.
Correct.
He's very clear. You are the light of the world.
Of the world, not the church.
Yeah, you are the light of the world.
Or the building.
Indeed.
So I agree with you on that premise.
Yeah.
So I have watched you, Pastor Beans. I find you real fun. You have vibes. You're into music. You have the best tunes on in the PDP. Might I dare say?
You get every trouble.
You're a foodie. You like food.
Yes, of course.
I see one time you post up on Facebook. You went fishing.
Yeah.
Tell us about that fun side of Pastor Terence Beans.
Yes. Well, I mean, life is to be lived, you know, and one of the reasons why I appreciate Christianity so much is that it really gives you abundant life, you know, and not just, you don't just exist, you actually live, you know, and the freedom to live and to appreciate and to experience what life has to offer is a beautiful thing.
Right.
You know, notwithstanding some of these activities are good therapy as well to treat with some of life's challenges. I remember my former pastor, Pastor Brebner, used to tell me, he said, Terry boy, I'm going in the sea and leave all my worries on land. You understand?
I should try that sometime.
Yeah, good man, and instill some tremendous things in my heart and spirit. And so sometimes you just need to relax. The sea does it for me. The sea does it for me. If I can't go fishing, actually, just parking up by the beach and just thinking it does that works for me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I find.
So I guess that is why seafood so resonates with you.
Well.
See into the lobster.
You're sharp, man.
Yeah.
You're sharp.
I see a catch lionfish. I just Makodi seen a little bit, you know, because God, them things look so
but
good.
I've never gone and eaten the lionfish yet. I find it, you know, I've never had it, you know.
Right.
I guess if it is prepared, I will try it, of course. Life is short,
Yes.
you know. Yeah.
And I like your adventurous nature to just explore things, you know, and you say that is your way of relaxing.
Yes.
You know, but just getting back to the quintessentials. Why the PDP? Why the PDP, Pastor Beans?
Yes. Well, the truth is, opposition people in Tobago don't really belong to nobody, you know. You know, you find that the opposition is manifested in different dispensations from time to time. If you study the Tobago historical, the politics here in Tobago, whether it be DAC or NAR or TOP or forwards, you find, and of course there will be new persons coming. Mr. Duke, for instance, coming on the landscape, starting the PDP. But you will find that there will be a filtering in of some of these opposition forces into whichever is the opposition force of the day. I think that, of course, I came from the TOP, which then, you know, in another dispensation, another manifestation became the Tobago Forwards. And it's a very interesting thing how that happened, you know. But in the back of my mind, I knew that having splinters and those things do hurt to the political future and political chances of opposition forces.
Right.
We've seen it on the national landscape, so we know it.
Right.
You know, it is a hard lesson, and sometimes, you know, politicians, our heads can be very hard, you know. So when I came into the mix and so on, as people will know, some may not, a very brief time, I was the political leader of the Tobago Force for a very brief time, and those who were encouraging me to come into this place had their own design as to what they wanted for the organization. But I went contrary to that design, you know, because I understood that an amalgamation is what is needed for us to realize the dreams and desires of people that feel left out of the political process in Tobago. So though it was difficult, and at some time, I am very glad that one, I had good sense enough to know that being a part of what is happening in the PDP was where I was supposed to be, and those that were close to me and wanted to follow where we were going, I had a conversation with them, and we all understood that this is what is happening at this particular point in time. We don't know about the future, we leave that up to God. Right. But at this particular point in time, the PDP is destined to carry the mantle of those persons who have a different political perspective in Tobago. You understand? And we have a right to that, and we will not give up that right for no one. Right. You understand? And so that is what drives me at this particular point. Notwithstanding that it is a new experience. There are some people that cannot accept what the PDP is doing because the PDP's approach even to campaigning and all this, we have actually taken the thing to dizzy new heights, you know. You understand?
I realize.
And it is non-traditional.
Yes.
So it is painful for some people that are accustomed to a traditional thing. In other words, they're supporting it, but they can't put their finger on it and that kind of thing. You know, so we have to be able to balance it and meet with these two groups who have the same interests. You know, the same, we are in solidarity trying to go in a particular place. I think the freshness of the PDP, and same thing, the PDP is a fly party too, man. I like the word. Yeah, it's the first time I'm actually using that term.
Well, it sounds good on you, man.
Yeah, it is.
But we, on the premise of philosophy, what I mean, an organization may have varying philosophy, but one picture.
Yes.
What about the PDP philosophy that so resonates with you, that you had to be a part of this movement, and I see you as one of those pioneers, you know, chartering the way for the change that the PDP and Tobago so needs, right? So tell me, what is that philosophy at all that so resonates with you?
Yeah, well, that people before politics thing, that is perhaps one of the most acid statements and I guess principle or philosophy, if you want to call it that. For me, that is what drives me. I was intrigued by it and began to unpack it in my mind, you know, and I think that it is idealistic in the Tobago scenario because the communities have been severely underserviced, and people's ideas and people's perspectives and people's dreams always seem to be taking second place, and that kind of thing. You always are complaining about the representative not paying attention to them and that kind of thing. So that philosophy drove me in large part, you know, and then of course all the other trappings that came along with it.
Right. So I mean, you have had to participate. I mean, you would have won in being a part of the PDP 6.1 in January. How has that journey been for you? I know it came with a whole host of challenges. We have seen the calamity in the, you know, this year. It's been what, 10 months, 11 months? How has that been for you?
Yeah, it's been a difficult journey, you know, but been living my life for the past 3 decades by the grace of God, and that's how I live my life. So once I agreed with myself that it was the will of God for me to be in this thing, I knew in the back of my mind that God will give me the grace for every challenge and every hurdle. Now, believing that and treating with it when it comes is another matter. You understand what I'm saying? You know, when the actual challenge comes, you know, there are some days, I'm telling you, there are some days you just sit and people are praying for you. There's no question about that.
Right. And I want to kind of, you know, be the devil's advocate. I mean, what is there to complain about? I mean, you ran, you won, you're assemblyman, you're getting a salary. what is there to complain about? I mean, what more you want?
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Well, I was talking preliminary about the actual process to the running, you know, because sometimes you expect a thing to go a particular way and it doesn't, you know, and a lot of odds were stacked up against me, in all honesty, right? This is a seat that has been overpowered by the PNM for close to 2 decades, right? To say I was a dark horse in the race is an understatement, perhaps the understatement of the decade, right? And everything seemed to be against me. So that is why I keep saying it was divine intervention. There's no question about that. You understand? It was just God assisting and the timing for me to be in this race. You understand? I mean, yes, we did work, but I do not believe that the work that we did, when you look at the opposition we were coming up against, that we could have won without divine intervention. And that is why I am here. And as it relates to some of the things that I was upset about and that kind of thing is the state of affairs. The PNM figure, because they have run Tobago for these amount of, that they own the place. They own all the different organizations. They own everything.
In other words, they monopolize.
Yeah. So they do what they want with impunity. You understand? With impunity, and so there is need for people to stand up against them things. One of the reasons why I appreciate Mr. Watson, Solomon, Duke, well, people could say what they want. Mr. Duke represents a kind of rebellion that Tobago needs now. You understand what I'm telling you?
Are you so sure about that?
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. He represents that. I am very clear in my mind. Very clear in my mind about that. And God will use who he wants to use when he's ready. You understand what I'm saying? And a lot of the people who talking act like they are the perfect ones. Everybody are cocoa in the rain. You understand what I'm saying? That's another matter. But the point is that you have this system that the PNM and Tobago locked and nobody can't, you know, they have people so afraid. Everybody beholden to them. They control the public space. They control the economy, and so on. And nobody wants to say anything because the survival is at hand and that kind of things. And when man bread and butter is on the line, they will toe the line. So we come as a bunch of people who say we put in everything out there because the change is more important than fear. We have been afraid of you for all these years. We say, nah, we ain't afraid of you no more. We want to see a better Tobago. We have seen the potential of this place that is called Tobago. Right. The people that we have here, the kind of thing we have seen Tobagonians excel all around the world. All around the world, Tobagonians are excelling. Yeah. Tobagonians are contributing to the development of other jurisdictions. Yeah. I tired, as Fali said, and I agree. I tired hearing about Singapore and New York and this. I tired hearing about them things. When I see the kind of potential, we have excelled in every discipline you could talk about in this from Tobago. Every discipline we have excelled.
With the odds stacked against us.
Of course,
yeah.
Of course. Yeah. And so, I think I even think about, you know, I know I'm going off, but I'm come back. I even think about Tobago students trying to get to do their tertiary education and things, to be on the boat in the morning, and if the boat ain't sail, or if the boat leave late, or you have to be on a flight, the amount of students sleep on the airport. If you have not slept on the airport in Trinidad, you have missed out on a critical part of the Trinidad and the Tobago experience. You understand? If you have not slept on the airport at least once in your life as a Tobagonian, you have missed out on a critical part of the Tobago experience. Now we are in 2021, and man still sleeping on the airport in 2021. You understand? And we sleeping there since we started flying, right? So, but the point is, although we have those odds stacked up against us, Tobagonians still excel. And one wonders what we would be able to accomplish if we had an integrated university in Tobago. Right. You understand? If we had all the basic, are we not talking about elaborating yet? No? Yeah. Basic amenities. If we had those things in Tobago, they would not see where Tobagonians pass.
Right. Just on the premise of the odds stacked against you, I would have seen you operate in your constituency, and with some of the bread and butter issues. And one video stood out to me in particular, and I must ask you about that video. And I see like you got upset and like you're ready to ruffle some feathers, man. And people might say, but wait, is this Jesus in the marketplace? So
that's a good way. I like that. Jesus in the marketplace. I'm gonna preach that. Yeah. Go ahead.
So tell me about that experience.
Yeah.
Given that the odds were stacked against you.
Yes, and again, it speaks really to the same thing. That kind of control and dominance, and that arrogance and abusive approach by some on the other side. Here it is. I'm an elected official. I'm walking through some of the residents there. It was not my idea. Let me say that clear. That was not my idea, right? The residents said, Pastor, can we get some lights in the park? Because, it's a security issue and so on. One of the guys down the road, I learned that after, who's the barber, I can't remember his...
Keelan?
Yeah, something cuts. The barber in Switzerland. Right. He told me that his father was robbed there and so on because the place was dark. So I said, well, okay, how can we get this thing done? Then I decided to apply the principle that I've applied for the past 30 years. When I want to get something done in the church, if we didn't have the money on hand immediately, I did what we call sow the first seed. You understand? You lead by example. So I got my money. I say, okay, we see that, decide what we're going to do. Because, all right, we could use the solar technology. We don't have to be saddled with a light bill at the end of the month and that kind of, don't need no maintenance and that kind of thing. So I went and looked at the solar thing. Each light installed was about $2,000 something. Okay. So I get my 2,000 something, boom, and I get the first light and get another one of my family members to sign on for the first two. We pop the first two. You understand? Faith is action. God will help you move.
I'm listening to you.
Yeah.
I'm listening to you.
So I popped the first two, boom. And then I started asking some people in the community right there. You understand? Would you be willing to donate a light? I call friends in Trinidad. This one donate one. This one donate. You understand? Because you tell people what you want to do, and once you're doing something sensible and profitable, people will buy into the thing. You understand? And we were able to do that. Now, the first two lights went up in about March, right? And we got the others, say about May, thereabout, I can't remember, but a 3 to 4 month span for us to get everything in. Okay? On the night of the commission, we all excited and thing and doing a little live and thing. But as I did the official commissioning of the lights and so on, I was hearing what sounded like a little commotion. Not heavy, but a little, I hearing people raising their voice and thing. But I didn't think it was anything concerning me. When I was done with that now, about to go to my car, somebody said, there is this gentleman here that wants to talk to you. I said, okay. His first question is what tripped me. First question. His first question, who authorized you to do this in this park? Let me tell you something, man and Dwayne, we are human beings, we design a particular way. Right? Now, this is coming off the heels of PNM pressure for me to not do anything in my constituency, me and others. Right? So Risha Hackett had the same problem over in Plymouth. You understand, trying to cut a field and they make one to the bacchanal and all that kind of thing. So I attempted to put up a backboard in Blackrock and they make one to that thing. So I back off, saying that is under the auspices of the Division of Sport and all that. And the thing about it, let me say that too. The thing about it, I wrote to the Division of Sport before I did anything. Wrote to the Division of Sport. They told me they did not have any backboards available. So somebody donate the backboards. So I said, well, okay, let us put up the backboards. When I'm doing that now, because we did a little live, they're talking about we trying to make them look bad. That's not even in my mind, but they're so sensitive because they've not been able to do simple things. You understand? And trying to make the representatives look bad. They start to make a fuss. I say, okay, let me leave that alone. So this is against that now. So coming to this now, remember that's still in my mind. So he comes now to tell me, he didn't even tell me who his name, what his name was, and all that. And just the way, you know, sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Condescending.
Yes, because they control the place. So he come to ask me who. So the way he asked me the question, I tell him, I said, sir, I got written permission from the people who own this park. He asked me if I NCR see pepper URP sign. I say, I see the sign. But I knew, because I spoke to the board, the chairman of the board, that because URP maintaining the park don't mean URP own the park.
Right.
Because you drive in a garage to make you a car. You understand what I'm saying? So they didn't own the park. So I was under no obligation to talk to them because, you know, notwithstanding, I asked him, I said, did you not see lights go up here about 3 months ago? If you say you are in charge of this group of people who clean the park, you see lights went up there 3 months ago. Did you not see? Yes. How it is you wait until the night when we commissioned to come to try to harass me? You understand? So if you had a concern way back then, but I know it's what go on, one of the officials a little higher than he, you understand? Yes, somebody send him and say, don't go down there and try to jump the beans and that kind of thing. But we know all them kind of thing. So you have to stand up to that foolishness. You have to stand up to it, and that is what they cannot appreciate, that it is a group of people who decide that we will stand up for the people that have voted us into office. You understand? And that's what really get me upset. And I am just like another human being. You understand? They have one of the most abrasive leader on the planet in the prime minister, and everybody love him still. So let me get vexed, man. I am entitled to a little vexation every now and again.
But be angry and sin now.
Yeah. Indeed.
All right, Pastor. So at this time, I want to entertain some questions. I still have some questions of my own for you, but I want to open up the floor to the viewers to ask some questions. So please get your fingers ready to type some questions to Pastor Baines. Any questions there, media? Whoa, this is long, boy. Anyway, what focus would there be on developing young men in various communities? That is one question. Does PDP plan to assist these young men to get them back into programs and jobs? That is a second question. Some of them came from prison and are struggling to find themselves back into society.
Yes.
How are you planning to reach out to them?
Right. All right. The outreach is like the first project that I did. I don't know if you remember, in the month of February there was an unfortunate gun incident in Bethlehem. Bethlehem is a place that is noted for periodic flare-up in violence and so on. So I thought about what I could do, because you have a lot of at-risk youth in the village, and that is not endemic to Bethel alone, that in other villages. Yes. But of course, there's where I'm operating. And we started what we call intervention. And the first edition was trying to bring some young people that are engaged in some things that may have excelled in certain professions and vocations and so on, to try and talk to them, to let them know that there are other options available. And so it's trying to speak to the morale of the guys first of all, because a lot of times it is the frustration of not having sustainable employment, the frustration of feeling left out of the system, the frustration of feeling that you will never be able to accomplish anything the way the thing is going. Several things contribute to that. Right. Now, there are those who may not want to take advantage of those things, but I don't think in large part the community is like that. Right? Some people become a victim of the environment. So in my mind, I'm thinking that I need to forge, first of all, a relationship with these young men and young women. Because in order for me to get anything done effectively, they will have to trust me. Remember, they have no point of reference of anybody doing anything like this for them before in the past. Right. They have not had that kind of attention and representation. Only when it's around election time, some people come up on the block and hype them up and thing and whatever. But in terms of a meaningful program to assist them, for them to have holistic development, they don't have that. So I come as an ex-politician, an ex-man who come to take advantage of them. You understand? So I have to be able to get them to trust that I really have the best interest at heart in whatever I'm going to put together. So we start working on that. You know, we did about 3 installations of intervention and so on. And of course, and then because I can't focus on Bethel alone because it's an entire constituency, but there is a skills training center that was on the block and was in use and so on, and the program was discontinued, which I committed to restarting, because there are a lot of intelligent people in these communities. You understand? They just don't have the platform, right, and so on. So we have to make that available for those who want to take advantage of that. Right? There are some people that want to get involved into farming and those kinds of things. I have assisted. There's a particular couple that I work with, you know, and trying to help them because they want to do something like that. If people are afforded an enabling environment, you'd be amazed as to what can come out of that. Mm-hmm. So we want to do that. We'll have to find a way to provide some jobs for those that are jobless at this point. Well, in Bethel now, because of the activities in the election-related activities, a lot of the young guys are now working, and I'm happy for that. You understand? I'm happy for that. That men have a little money in their pocket, they could do stuff, right? So you have that. So I am concerned though of more sustainable activity. This is where the community fund, you know, comes in, and I know we've not gone there yet, but being able to have projects in the community that are financed by the community holistically and long-term projects. You understand what I'm saying? Those are some of the things that we'll have to sit down and interact with, and to see how we can have programs with more long-term value. Mm-hmm. But in the short term, we'll have to find some employment activities for our young people.
Thank you for that. Mm-hmm. And I want to ask that you try to make your questions as brief as possible, and try to make so that the assemblyman or the representative can answer your question succinctly, mm-hmm, and precisely. Next question, please. Thank you. What about the youths involved in music? And I think this is a long alley.
Yes. Mm. Well, yes, and that's a good question. Mr. Curtis Collins, and this is in Bethlehem itself. A lot of people maybe don't even know that, has a studio at his house. He invited me to see the studio and stuff. In fact, I did a song there and went and promoted the studio and so on. And so there is a recording studio right in Egypt Block up on Beverly Hills. In case you all don't know, Mr. Curtis Collins have a recording studio there, and you can take advantage of that. But in the larger community though, I think that there is need for and there are studios, but they are probably not enough. What we have found is that some people are not as serious with the craft as they should be, because the maintenance of a recording studio, that is a very expensive pastime. You understand what I'm saying? It is a very expensive pastime. For instance, there was a studio down that I went, Stone Tower, down at a building down there in Crumpwood. I went there, and big shout out to the engineer, I keep forgetting his name, did exceptionally good work. And part of his lamentation was that, you know, he was not getting the kind of movement of bodies, you know. So I believe that we have to, and it may be that we have to kind of put more confidence and talk to the artists themselves, you know, and let them know that really we can provide these facilities. They are facilities, and if you really want to get the work done, you can get the work done, and try and see how the state can provide an environment to help them get the work out. Right. Because sometimes that's the challenge. It's a very expensive pastime to produce music. One track, depending on where producers, can move from $5,000 to $11,000 for one song. Wow. Depending on what you want to do. You understand? The songs that I do, each track costs me like about $5,000 to do on average. Right? And that is an expensive pastime for a lot of youths who may have tremendous talent, but they don't have the raw cash to do the project. You understand? So we have to find a way to to create the environment to enable them in that. So I am with that. I am with that.
Thank you very much. Next question, please. When PDP win, big up to that, would you all be opening the A&R Robinson Airport to international flights?
It is already, international flights already coming to A&R Robinson Airport.
But I think what this question is pointing to is, given the current situation under that...
you mean at present?
Yeah, I think...
Well, I mean, the administration will have to be responsible, dependent on the climate and what is taking place, you know. Part of the governance challenge is to really look out for the overall well-being of the population. And this pandemic is not just in a local, this is a global matter. And we at present we are in a crisis stage, you know, with the present numbers. So all these things would have to be taken into consideration. What I can promise you is that the PDP will take the actions that are best suited for the entire population of Tobago.
Right, thank you. I have one question for you before we take the other question. And this will be the only question from me, and we'll close with the questions from the audience. I hear all giving out food cards. I hear all doing all kind of paving and thing.
Yeah.
You know, I hear a lot of things happening in your constituency with that.
Yeah.
Tell us about that now. I know food card. I know some people need food cards.
I am. Yeah, and as Deputy Political Leader Farley said, we in PDP assemblymen have never been afforded any food cards. You know, and as Farley said, I agree with him that food cards really shouldn't be. You know, the assemblymen shouldn't be the custodians of food cards. You know, there should be other social services that are responsible for that and so on. In my district, I know for a fact because I was told by one of the recipients that they were given food card as an inducement for them to vote for the PNM. You understand? Given food card on behalf of the candidate.
You're talking about last year election or?
No, I'm talking about just 2 weeks ago. In Switzerland.
After they have...
Yes, people that were canvassing in Switzerland were giving food cards to some of the residents as inducements for them to vote for the
So it's not you?
No.
Okay.
No. Right? In the Bethel, for instance. Now, we have to appreciate, as I said earlier, that this district, which was then Bethel Mount Irving, was one of the strongholds of the PNM. So I come now like a dark horse in the race and wrestle the seat away from them, right? They have been expending an enormous amount of resource to win back the seat.
Like what?
Right? So the former representative, one of his lamentations, according to what the people say, was that his hand was tied. So when people asked him to deliver certain things, he said his hand was tied past because he was not in a secretarial position, and that don't make no sense to me, because Mr. Ansel Dennis tried to be critical of me when I said that we were locked out of resource, and he tried to say that Kelvin Morris could do things as if we're stupid. You understand? That's the next question. But somehow you have lost the seat, but you are finding these millions of dollars to do roads. There's about 8 or 9 roads that have been constructed in Bethel and environs.
Okay.
And these projects go into countless millions of dollars. So where you find the money from? Where you were in power and you couldn't do anything. Now you're not out of power. And the former representative was the principal, because I saw him there. He was the man presiding as he was in charge. And I tried to figure out, I wonder if he was employed by the THA, because that's nothing new. Because you know that they employ anybody, so you could lose and they will give you a work. So I know that is not, because they're in charge and they figure that they own the place, they could do what they want. So here it is, a man lose an election, just like Crazy the Beans up in Mason Hall. Lose. You understand? And they have these projects that they know. These projects will be used as inducement to get him back into power. So they put him there as the man in face, both in that road in Sesame Street and another one down in Ernest James Trace connecting to Pepper Hill.
Okay.
Right? So, and let me tell you this now. The residents down in Ernest James Trace called me because there was some misunderstanding and so on, whatever. They say that they just see works coming, happening, and nobody can tell them nothing and whatever. So I went, and they had some problems. I said, well, first we have to figure out who is doing the works, because they said they didn't know who they was. The former representative, Mr. Hector, came and confirmed that the works it was a THA project and this contract was doing it and whatever. After he was finished, and I say this, I ain't lying on him, this is what the lady told me, right? She said to me, Pastor Baines, that this was his remark. Now you all must get the media, bring the media, and let the media see that I am out of office, but I'm able to deliver to you, right? She said to me, I told him, if you're delivering so much out of office, better stay out here. Because if when you're in the office you can't deliver, no, stay out here and deliver. So I don't have no problem. I don't have a problem with the services that are being given. And let me tell you this, Let me tell you this. The residents must understand, right? Residents must understand that what they are experiencing now is not a favor. It is not a favor. It is state resource. And we have been locked out as PDP reps. It's not just spiting the 6, they are spiting the thousands of people that voted for us as well. So this is services that are owed to us. The roads in Bethel have been owed to the people of Bethel because they vote Terrence Baines. You understand? And all the other things that they're doing are wrong. So we are thankful. We give God praise and thanks that men that are outside of being elected are getting the work done. And that means they must stay outside, because they're doing more when they're outside.
Thank you for that, Brother Baines. Next question, please. What sort of educational programs can I, as a mental health provider, see from the PDP that will encourage people in need to seek help, especially in cases of abuse or mental health, and educating others to eradicate stigmas attached to mental health or seeking care in general?
Right. I remember when I was up in the Bethlehem area, and I was telling those that were present that when you vote for me is a combo, buy one get one free. Deputy political leader Alicia Roberts Patterson is a mental health expert, and I remember I did a health program in Black Rock, and I specifically invited her to bring her expertise to bear on the program, because people have a lot of mental health issues generally, and COVID just exacerbates that problem. And I know that she would be one of those at the helm as it relates to a kind of mental health sensitization.
Sensitizing.
Thank you. Right, that's the word I meant. Right, program to facilitate that. And mental health is a matter we have to concede that is not really given the kind of attention that it requires, and so that is one of the reasons why I think that she's a critical part of whatever we're going to be delivering to the communities and so on.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Next question, please. Remember to keep your questions short and concise. Don't mean to curtail your concerns, but we have limited time. Next question. What about the boat builders?
Yes.
There are youths interested. Can there at least be a program for them?
Yes. Well, sunny days are ahead. That's the best way to answer that question in a nutshell. And of course, in Mr. Craig's area, and we really trusting that Mr. Craig will become the area representative, because that's one of the things that he was talking about in his presentation about the boat building industry. There is that industry there in the Buku area, and it is a matter of, I believe, enhancing and giving all the support that we can give to make it more optimized and so on. So that is already happening. It's just a matter of us giving, adding whatever we can add to make it better.
All right. Thank you. Question? I know we have some eager people. Right. So we'll just take one more question, and we would, because we are approaching the end of the interview, unfortunately, Brother Baines.
Yeah.
Just one more question from Mr. Baines. Oh, I see we are having some technical difficulty. But just tell us quickly, on the ground, what are the people have been saying to you?
Well, there's been a lot of conversation about change. Most people are saying that the time has come for a change in terms of the governance structure. You know, there are people that still have some needs, unfortunately, basic bread and butter things, attendant issues relating to the pandemic, as you can appreciate, you know. But the general consensus is that the time has come for a change in governance, you know, and so we are trying to take advantage of that, and not just to say that we want to be the next assembly, but to present some sensible, reasonable, doable things that people can interact with, you know, to improve the lives of all these citizens here in Tobago.
All right, and I want to say thank you, and my word to you, the youth. Oh, we have one more question. All right, so mental health is a big issue in Tobago. Will the PDP help treat with the rough sleepers in Scarborough?
Rough sleepers?
I think you're talking about the
street dwellers and so on. Yes, I heard, I believe it was Deputy Political Leader a few days ago. The answer to the question is yes, because I heard it not just mentioned, but that the deputy was talking about it a few nights ago on the platform. Our intention is to treat with every aspect of the society. I mean, we might not get everything immediately, but our intention is to treat with every aspect of the society. Every deficient area, we are going to bring to bear the expertise so that we can have some relief in those areas. So the answer to your question is yes.
Thank you so much. Right, so we have come to the end of the interview. And Pastor Beans, I want to thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Any short parting words for your constituency and Tobago and the listeners?
Yes, well, I mean, seriously, enough has been out there for people to make an intelligent choice come December 6th. We are trying to present you not just with old talk, tell you this is what we would like to do if you afford us the privilege of being your representative. So we urge you to look into the narrative, listen to what we are saying, interact with what we are saying, and vote for the PDP candidate come December 6th.
And just quickly, where would you all be tonight?
Tonight we are back in Ravenels, and in the spotlight, I believe it is Mason Hall Moriah is in the spotlight tonight at Ravenels at 7:30. We will be live on the PDP page and Tobago Channel 5 as well.
And Pulse as well.
Yes.
So again, my viewers, I want to say to the youth, you are not yet tired. You're too young to be tired of voting. You are too young to be tired of voting. And I want to say to you, I know you might have been discouraged about the systems not working for you, but I want to also encourage you and tell you that it's not that they have been winning, it's just that we have not been voting, and I use we purposefully. We have not been standing up. So I'm encouraging you to stand up. It's not about party, it's not about person, it's about philosophy and about your future. Again, I want to thank you guys for being a part of this show. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe and be COVID free and friendly. And please adhere to the protocols. Have a good evening. See you tomorrow morning again at 9. Enjoy your day.
When God bless a man,